Welcome everybody. First of all, thanks to my hotel for sponsoring the water. We're just going to start in a second. I hope you have your popcorn ready because it's going to be fun. I'm going to show you some cool, aesthetically pleasing stuff that runs on the terminal and also on the web. So let's just jump right into it, I guess. I hope I'm in the scene right now. Let's see. All right, so who am I and why am I giving this talk? First of all, my name is Orhun Parmaksız, and I've been involved in open source for some time now, for a couple of years. And I've been just writing Rust, enjoying that endeavor, and also creating some command line tools, terminal tools, libraries, and so on. Most prominently, I am maintaining the Ratatui project, which will be actually the topic of today. Also, the other projects that I have, including GitCliff, Insider, came on, and so on. You can just check out my GitHub for what I have built and what I'm building right now. And just in my free time, I am trying to package your favorite Rust software for Arch Linux, by the way. Just putting them in the official repos so you have easier access and you can just install them with Pacman and so on. So yeah, if you want to learn more about me, go to my website or go to my GitHub, which contains everything. Also, I've been live streaming and just putting my stuff out there by going live on YouTube and building whatever I want to build. So you can just check out my YouTube channel as well. Now I'm doing that too. All right. So chapter 1 will be about putting the web onto the terminal. Just a disclaimer, I'm not talking about the whole functionalities of the web applications or anything like that. I'm talking about only the aesthetics. So we're just going to try to modernize the terminal UI applications a bit. So that's going to be the chapter 1. Let's just jump right into it. So when we talk about aesthetics and terminal and UIs, we need to talk about Ratatui. And you might be asking, what is Ratatui? Maybe you have seen my previous talks or you've seen some stuff on the internet. But just to give you a quick description, it's a Rust library that's all about cooking up terminal user interfaces. That's why I'm wearing this apron right now. It's not a cooking library, it's a terminal cooking. Anyways, so we have this demo here. If you're new to terminal UI applications, I'm just going to run this demo to show you what Ratatouille applications look like. So you can simply use Ratatui's widgets to build or compose these UIs in the terminal. Right now, this is running entirely in the terminal. And in case you're asking, all the slides are also running in the terminal. So just switching back and forth. So whatever you see right now, it's all in the terminal. And with Ratatouille, you can simply have widgets like the tabs on the top. We have the list here. We have some table, some map-looking thing, some Sparkline widget, some bar charts, progress bar, and so on. So those are all possible to build with Ratatouille, and you can just use these widgets to build whatever you want in the terminal. And yes, we have, like I said, a lot of widgets and also a lot of concepts as well. If you want to learn more about these concepts, just go to Ratatouille's website. We just explain everything there. We also have some tutorials, videos, documentation overall. So just check out those things. Today I'm going to mostly focus on the buffer concept and also the backend concept of Ratatouille. And we're just going to use those concepts a little bit to just go outside of the terminal applications a bit and try something new at the end. All right. Today, if you want to build a simple, a minimal terminal UI application with Ratatouille, this is how it looks like in Rust. This is basically the most straightforward way of building it. I'll explain these in a brief moment, but just to give you an idea, most of the TUI applications today built with Ratatouille use the underlying techniques, the same approach, but in a different architecture or in a different way. So if you want to take a look at these, first one is you got to initialize the terminal. This will give you a terminal object which will be the entry point to the terminal, for interacting with the terminal. And then you need to create a loop. This loop is required because Ratatui is a immediate mode rendering library, which means you need to render everything for each frame. And then you gotta just draw whatever you want to draw, and you can do this in a separate function. We usually recommend that. And in this separate function or whatever you want to render, you can just render anything that implements the widget trait. And you basically just handle events in a loop. You just read whatever you get, and then based on that, you just perform an action. In this case, I'm just breaking from this loop and just exiting the application. And then you got to restore your terminal, which means you want to go back to where you started. Since TUI applications usually make you switch to a new screen, a new buffer, so to speak, you just want to restore your original terminal so you can just go back to whatever you were doing. So yeah, you basically, let's say you have this prompt, you run this TUI, you go to a new screen, and then you basically press a key here and then go back. That's the whole minimal application that we see here, and you will see just the hello world text if you run this. It's not very exciting, but this is just for the purpose of giving you an idea of how minimal Ratatui applications look these days. I want you to memorize this or remember this because I'm going to show you something at the end, and I'm just trying to catch the same straightforwardness and same simplicity. So just keep in mind this structure. So now that we know how the code looks like, let's talk about how the terminal UIs actually look like. Because I think there is something called the TUI Look when you use Ratatui or like any TUI library. And we can just pinpoint down some of these things together. I will show you some example applications for that. The first one is the television project. This is a general purpose Fuzzy Finder project. If you use NeoVim, you probably know what this is. It's like a telescope app. So when you run it, you basically have these blocks that are separating different views. You have a list here. You have the preview. Some cool logo on the top and so on, and some place where you can actually perform a search. So when you build a system tool or anything like this, you're probably going to end up with an UI that looks like this. And another thing which goes beyond the traditional TUI Look a bit is this tracker application. It's a real-time satellite tracking and orbit prediction in the terminal. So when I run it, you'll see a map. And wait, I don't have internet right now. I don't know if this will work. 1 second. Okay, demos. You'll see a map, and then you'll have the list of satellites here. Let me just connect 1 second. Let me just not expose my root password, please. Thank you. All right, scanning for networks. I'm just going to try to make this really quick. And you're basically gonna, oh my God. Yeah, you have basically what I'm basically saying here is you have a map, and when you select the satellite here, it will show you the objects from that satellite. Do we have the FOSDEM network by any chance? Is it connectable? All right, thank you. This is definitely the part of the talk, by the way. Just connect. All right, there we go. Finally. All right, so you can select the satellite here. Let me select something. By the way, you can use your mouse, so why not? It's a terminal app, but you can just select with your mouse, and then it will show you the satellite on the world map. You can click one of these objects, and it will show you the object information real time in the terminal with its altitude, latitude, speed, and so on. So it goes beyond a little bit of what you would expect from a TUI app. Since the font size is really big, it's not really showing well, but you got the idea. So that's what you can build with Ratatui as well. And let's see what are these like the typical features of TUIs. The first one I would see most of the time is the pane-based layouts. So these are like the blocks. You have different blocks that are designated for some functionality. For example, you have some services, right? You have the list widget in that, or you have some text that is in another block. And another thing, you have pop-up menus which override the other widgets. In this example, you see this actions menu, and we just make use of the colors, like highlight colors, extensive, like a lot of the times to just say that something is focused or something is selected. But those looks actually look like, those TUI stuff just look like they belong to something like this hardware, which really fits the theme. There's this little hardware, Minitel. Maybe you guys know about this if there's any French in the audience. It's from 1980s, and somebody just decided to run Ratatui on this old terminal hardware, and they just made it so you can just render the Ratatui widgets here. You have the map, the tabs and everything, and it's just rendering on this screen. Works fine. It looks like these widgets really look like they belong to this type of hardware, which is I think amazing. But this is not what we really want today. We want to have a more modern interface. We don't want to look like we're in the 80s. At least that's the goal. It's fine if you want to look like belong to 80s. I like the aesthetics of those terminals a lot too, but just wanted to challenge myself a bit here today and have something looking better. So how can we achieve that? Let me show you what you can do with Ratatui. Not using something else, just the raw like widgets and everything. So you can have this hello world text. This is like the simplest form. And if you go one step further, you can wrap this thing in a paragraph and enable word wrapping. This will make it a little bit more fancy, because when you hit a end of line, it will just go to the next line, and it's going to be looking better. But you can just add like a block too, like a surrounding block with some rounded borders and titles and so on. So that's another option. You can go one step further, add emojis and colors and center the text and stuff like that. And then at the end, it looks like this. And this is like arguably better, but still we look like we just trying so hard to make it look good. So yes, not really enough still. Well, take a look at this. So, what just happened there? First of all, the borders look different. There is some animation going on in the borders, and when you start to use this thing, like there's some stuff happening, right? What the hell is going on? How did we end up here, right? This is all built with Ratatui and Rust, by the way. And let me just show it to you again, actually, because it looks so satisfying. And this looks like, we passed the 80s and like 2000s, and we just end up very futuristic at this point. How did this happen? Well, there's a library called TachyonFX, which enables you to render these shader-like animations for Ratatouille applications. So it is like, you just add this library to your project, and this works like any widget. And you just render, you can choose what animation to render, and you just render them. There's another demo of this library, which you can see here. It shows the different animations, transitions with different things, and so on. So this is now possible. So you might be asking, how this is possible? Because we only have a terminal, right? Well, this is possible thanks to Ratatouille's buffer type. So buffer is a super simple type. It contains all the cells that you would need to render these type of things. First of all, we have an area, super simple, just coordinates and size. Also content, this contains the cells. And cells mean that, little pixels in the terminal. And, we have a symbol, which is like a single character. Let's think it that way. And we have just foreground and background colors for those symbols, and also some modifiers as well. So you can just use this mechanism to make it seem like you're rendering an animation. And TachyonFX is actually doing something like that. When you see those animations, those little like borders, animated borders, they are actually just like cell by cell rendering, and at the end you have those cool looking effects. The underlying buffer looks like this when you render a text. For example, you have hello world there, and each character is just a cell. They have a symbol and some style. So yeah, there are some more documentation on the website if you want to learn more about it. There's another application called Tech, and this is making use of the buffer extensively, and at the end it doesn't even look like something that was built with Ratatui. And this is actually a music making program, so you can just make music in your terminal. Let me run it. You just have like something looking like FL Studio here, and you can just use this to play some notes, and then at the end, yeah, just making music in the terminal. And these custom views here, they are entirely built with the buffer type and the custom cell manipulations and so on. So at the end of the day, you can just build stuff like this with Ratatui. Okay, let me quit. So conclusion of the chapter 1. What do we have? We have aesthetics in the terminal. We have more modern look and feel for terminal applications thanks to TachyonFX and other like underlying features of Ratatui. And you can just have these web-like modern animated TUIs in like running in the terminal. The question is, which I'm not going to answer today, is this the future, or is this really needed? When you have a terminal, you can basically get your job done by running something, and it's like doing its thing. Like, why do we need animations, and why do we need these fancy things? Not going to answer that. There's some debates about that. But yeah, I'm okay with having animations. Why not? I just enjoy looking at a terminal and seeing some stuff happening there, which looks like something from the future. So yeah, just a question for you, I guess. All right. I hope you still have some popcorn left, because we're gonna move to terminal to web section now. So chapter 2 gonna be absolute cinema. We're gonna try to, yeah. All right. When you want to render terminal on web, you have some options, and the first one that comes to mind is Xterm.js, and this is not a JavaScript talk, so I'm not going to talk about this too much today, but this library is actually pretty good, because you can just render like any ANSI escape code in a HTML page, and they provide a API that can run these ANSI escape codes and just give you the result. So you can basically like host terminal applications on a browser. But like I said, this is JavaScript, and we are in the Rust dev room, so just going to move on from that. But this is an option. All right. So what we want is actually we want to use Ratatui here. So how can we use it? Let's say you have a platform where you need to render something. And in that case, you want to implement the backend trait from Ratatui. And backend trait is like, in theory, if you implement this trait on anything, you can just render widgets, like the stock widgets, or you can use the Ratatui internals on that thing. So that's the idea. And this trait consists of some functions. Mainly, we have the draw function, and this is like the most important one. This draw function gives you an iterator of items, and items are like cells and coordinates. So if you somehow put these cells into the appropriate coordinates and like colors, you basically end up with a TUI. So that's the idea. If you want to see how this might look, you can just check out the test backend of Ratatui, which we use to assert the rendered content in our unit tests. So we basically have this test backend. This gives us a string, and then we just assert the buffer in that string. So just that, and what we are doing here is taking the content, like the cells, putting them in an intermediate buffer, and later on we just assert the string. And it's quite simple logic there. So maybe this could be implemented, Actually, this was implemented before, and there are some projects which attempted to render Ratatouille on web. One of them is eGUI Ratatouille project, and this is a Ratatouille backend that is also an eGUI widget. We have the demo here. We can just check it out. And this works well. There are not many issues with it. You can just have the Ratatouille demos running on web with eGUI and WebAssembly probably, and you can just check out the other examples as well. Everything is being rendered. They are fine. Quite good project actually. You can also use the Bevy backend with this project. So there's this another example which will give us a desktop app that runs Bevy and also a Ratatouille window. This is basically the block widget that this can be, oh my, what happened? Yeah, this can be resized and so on. So this is quite cool. Well, what's the problem with it? Well, there's a problem, but my problem with this project is basically I want to have something simple enough. So when you use this project, you got to know about the Bevy internals and also eGUI and also Ratatouille. So you got to know many things to be able to build something for the web. If you look at some examples, you'll see that you got to use this app thing in your app to be able to initialize the terminal and so on. And there's something called Ratatui Backend here, so you got to learn about that. You got to learn about the plugins and so on. And if you look at the internals of this project, you'll see that there are some abstractions and some layers to it. We have Impl backend for Ratatui backend and also eGUI widget for Ratatui backend. So just getting deep into the abstractions, and it gets quite hard to build something simple. Another attempt to making this happen was Webatui project, which was quite good. I had so many inspirations from this project. It's an integration between the U framework and Ratatouille. In case you don't know, U framework is a web application building framework in Rust, which gives you like a React-like features, or yeah, something like that. I don't know. I'm not a web dev, and you can just use this project to have this integration between these two libraries and basically build web applications. And I have a demo here. Let's see if it's gonna run. And this is the blog of the author of Webatui. He basically decided to write a library and also build this blog using this library. And you can see that it's looking like a TUI. It's interactive, so you can just click these things, and there's like a blog post here about the blog, and you can just read it, and works in the browser quite fine. Built with Ratatouille, and it's a good project. And the cool thing about this thing is when you look at the HTML, it's basically like pre-widgets and like spans, like basic DOM stuff, and just at the end of the day, this looks like a TUI. So this is where I got inspired from, because this is quite straightforward approach, right? So yeah, well, again, what's the issue with this? Yeah, there was another actually a thing that I want to show. Hold on. Yeah, there's this another thing which is like a counter app. So yeah, what's the issue with this? Well, again, too many layers. If you want to build something with this, you gotta first create a struct that will hold your apps logic, implement something called terminal app for this thing, and you gotta run the whole thing with the run TUI function. So like 3 steps, and just remember what I showed you in the beginning of the talk, the minimal example, and just compare it with this. Like it's too far from that, and you gotta just at that point know about how U framework works, how the UI is updated, how you manage the state, and other bunch of things. So this is not really what I like about Webatui. Also about the interactions, like when you click something on the browser, how does that happen? Well, there's this life cycle of a Webatui app. You basically have to do something called hydration, and this is like another step in your app. You gotta just manually code these. So the hydration step basically attaches those callbacks to those DOM elements. So you're just gonna create a style, mark it as to hydrate, and then later on you get all the dehydrated spans and attach some action to them. So it's too many stuff happening, too much effort. It's not really a easy way to build applications, I think. So this is what I don't like about Webatui, but it's totally fine if you want to use U. It's a good choice. All right, so I feel like I'm just constantly complaining, right? Like, what do we want actually? So we want no JavaScript, only Rust, obviously. We want to only depend on Ratatui, not other libraries like no U, no eGUI, Bevy, anything, right? Just Ratatui. It should be easy to set up. I don't want to run npm create or npm install or anything. I just want to convert the existing applications very easily to this web form. And yeah, that's basically what I want. I know I want so many things. So write Rust once, run everywhere. You basically build your TUI once, running in your terminal. You switch to web, runs into web, right? So I started cooking, basically. I've been live streaming. These efforts took around 15 hours or something, but we basically ended up with a new library, actually. So I put together this diagram. I was thinking, okay, I'm going to just steal or get inspired from Webatui about the spans thing. I want to render cells as spans. That's good. I'm just going to take that. And for handling the events, because Webatui was just using dehydrated stuff, I don't want to do that. I just want to use maybe JavaScript to handle the events. That turned out to be unnecessary because in the WebSys created, which I used for interacting with the browser, there's actually some callbacks or like listeners that you can just set up, and they just work out of the box. So no JavaScript. That diagram is outdated. And for setting your WebAssembly application, I wanted to use trunk. If you have used wasm bindgen, you maybe know that you got to annotate your functions, or like there's some other stuff that you need to do to set up your app. But trunk is super straightforward. It works with your main function. You just have fn main, run trunk serve, and it works. Only thing that you need to do is you need to add an index.html, something that looks like this. And this is quite straightforward as well, because you need some entry point to your app, right? So you just add this index.html, run trunk serve, and there you have a WebAssembly thing, WebAssembly app running in the browser using Rust, right? So about rendering, this was quite tricky actually, because we don't have like an easy sleep or something like that in the browser in the WebAssembly context. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you can have the loops. Well, how do we like wait for the next frame, right? There's no such thing as sleeping. So you can use like async JavaScript to wait for some time, but I wanted to use a more native way. Basically, Martin from the live streams, he came up with this. This is, believe it or not, a endless loop using a request animation frame call in the browser. So what happens here is that you create a closure, and you call the closure using request animation frame, and then in the closure, you call it again. So it's like an endless loop. And this runs at 60 FPS. Quite fine. I was like, okay, let's just use this because this feels native, and we can just create a loop this way. So yeah. For the backends, like I told you, you can use the DOM backend with like spans and everything, or the canvas. Canvas is another one. It has some drawbacks though. Like in DOM backend, you can basically have hyperlinks. For the canvas, you don't have those abilities. You can have more like flexible drawing stuff, but yeah, just two options that we came up with so far. For the events, we don't need JavaScript at all. Just use event listeners. When there's a key down, just call this closure, so works well. So at the end of the day, this is the result, and I want you to compare this with the minimal example, it's quite easy to just convert your existing TUI app to this now, because what you have is simply just a backend, you choose a backend, you create a terminal from this using terminal new, you just listen for key events using this closure, and on this draw web function, this is the request animation frame that I mentioned. It's going to create a loop for you, and you can just render your frames in there. So that's the result, and that's the end. I'm going to show it to you how it looks like now. And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you a new library. Say hi to Ratzilla. And this is running at 60 FPS, and there's some glitches, but that's fine. So we just basically built this, and it's a library for building terminal themed web applications using Rust and WebAssembly. The source is available there. You can go ahead and try it for yourself. The demos are deployed onto the internet, and it's quite early in this project still. I mean, I started building this a month ago, so PRs and issues welcome. And I'd like to announce another thing. This thing has a website built with Ratzilla, so we already have some users of the library, which is me, but doesn't matter. So me and the author of Zellish, we wanted to have a meetup, a community for terminal enthusiasts, people who like terminals or who build terminal software. We just created this website and a Discord. So we will have meetups soon, hopefully. And if you want to just speak at this new hot event, just reach out to us. And the website looks something like this. We have the links and everything. Oh, you didn't see that? We have the links and everything there. You can just join Discord or check out GitHub for things. So yes, if you're interested, just join us, basically what I'm saying. Yeah, we're going to see what will happen next, but hopefully some good things. I have some ideas about what to build with Ratzilla. Actually, I want to have something more interactive, like a blog maybe. So let's see about that. Also, we are experimenting with other stuff as well. There are some issues, you can just check them out. Some extras, if you want to go full circle, there are some projects which you can check out. Corvo is a CLI front-end for Servo. So it's like you run Servo on the terminal with Ratatui. So you can just build a web app, and just serve it on web, and then just check that out on the terminal. You got the ideas, full circle. And there's some other projects as well. Carbonel is a terminal browser built with Chromium, and On a personal note, before I end my talk, I have some ambitious goals, and one of them was this, basically. This is me a year ago, exactly a year ago maybe, I don't know. Yeah, talking about Ratatouille once again, but the difference is I was sad, unhappy, overweight, broken inside. Today I am a much different person, both mentally and physically. So I've been just trying to spread this motivation a bit around. So I built this website. You can just go ahead and check out what happened and why it happened and so on, and basically my motivations to keep moving towards these goals. Also, there's some merch in there, so if you want to get this Ratatouille apron, just check out the merch. This is the low quality one. There's some better stuff in there. So yeah, thank you everybody. Check out Ratzilla and join our collective. Thank you so much.